Hey guys, Mrs. Lopez, we're going to take a look at main idea and details today. We have a couple of things to talk about. This is an article from your Hyperdoc on Earth Day. If you didn't participate with us, yesterday was Earth Day. And this article right here is about climate change. It's got that cute little polar bear. And it's one of the only articles on here. Most of these are lists or how to's or videos. But this is one of the articles, and I'd like us to take a look at it together. So, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at this article. It's from National Geographic Kids. I'm going to read through it with you. So, if you've already read it, just go ahead and keep reading with us. We're going to be taking a look at the main idea. Now, on your slides today, you have a slide with some notes in true Mrs. Lopez fashion, right? In Sharpie, sideways on a paper. So that should take you back to the memories of our classroom, right? And so when we find the main idea of an article, what we're looking for is we're looking to make a sentence that tells what the text is mostly about, okay? How do you find it? Well, we're going to look at the title. We're going to check out the pictures and the captions. And most importantly, that's why there's a star here, we're going to reread the first paragraph and the last paragraph again. We're going to focus on those things to try to find what the article is mostly about, okay? Now, I'm going to take a look here and already notice that I've got a picture, right? And our picture is a polar bear stands on the shore of the Hudson Bay in North America. Now, if this whole article starts talking about polar bears and the whole article is mostly about polar bears, I know that's something important. But I know the title here tells me something different. It says the title is Climate Change. What is climate change? What could happen? Get all the facts you need to know. This doesn't mention anything about polar bears. So already I'm thinking maybe this isn't about polar bears. Maybe it's about something more. In fact, maybe it's about climate change. I'm going to keep reading. A polar bear walks along a rocky shore looking for food. The bear would usually be on the sea, ice hunting for seals, pouncing when the seal comes up to breathe. But the ice had started to melt earlier and reform later than it has in the past. Without the sea ice, the polar bear must scavenge for other, less nutritious food. These changes in polar sea ice are a result of climate change. But this isn't just affecting polar bears. Climate change affects everyone. I'm going to pause for a second. Already, even after the first section, I'm thinking this main idea is going to be about climate change. If somebody were to ask me, what is this article about, Mrs. Lopez? I'm looking at the title up here. I'm looking at the title right here. I'm looking at the very beginning, the first paragraph here. I already think I know that this is about climate change, but I need some more information. So I'll keep reading. What is climate change? Weather changes day to day. Sometimes it rains, other days it's hot. Climate is the pattern of weather conditions over a long period of time for a large area, and climate can be affected by Earth's atmosphere. Our Earth is surrounded by an atmosphere made up of gases. When sunlight enters our atmosphere, some of the sun's heat is trapped by the gas, and some bounces back out into space. By trapping that heat, our atmosphere keeps Earth warm enough to live on. Without it, our planet would be very cold, like Mars. Okay, so these gases in the atmosphere are good. Earth's climate has always naturally cycled through change, caused by how much of the sun's energy was absorbed by the atmosphere. In fact, over the past 650,000 years, the Earth has gone through 7 ice ages and warming periods. Man, that's a lot. So it seems like the climate changing is a normal thing, right? It's a cycle. It's something that just happens, right? It's happened these 7 times over 650,000 years, right? And it's a normal part of being on Earth. Okay, now I've got this picture of steam coming off of factories. We had this picture of Earth with the atmosphere. Now I'm thinking something different is going to be happening. And look at that. What's different now? So, but during the past few hundred years, oil, gas, and coal have powered homes, cars, and factories. These energy sources release a gas called carbon dioxide, CO2, into the atmosphere. This gas traps heat that would otherwise escape Earth's atmosphere. That increases Earth's temperature, which contributes to the planet's warming. All right, so now this gas, the CO2, carbon dioxide, is trapping heat, right? So the heat that used to escape, that used to go out into space, isn't leaving anymore. Now it's staying inside, which tells us that we're going to get even more warm, okay? That's why many scientists agree that the Earth is now warming because of human activity. How do they know? Through careful study. They know that the climate is warming about 10 times faster than the average previous warming times. They've also ruled out the natural factors that caused warming in the past. The Earth's average temperature has increased about 1.5 degrees Fahrenheit in the past 100 years. It doesn't sound like much, but scientists think that the temperature increase has caused melting glaciers, drought, and coral reef die-off. Coral can't survive in water that's too warm. They expect the climate will warm another 0.5 or 0.5 degrees Fahrenheit to 8 and 0.6 degrees Fahrenheit by the year 2100. My goodness, that's only 80 years away. What could happen? Climate change affects more than temperature. Warmer water changes the patterns of ocean currents, affecting global weather patterns. Some places will receive more rainfall, which could lead to flooding, while other places will get less, which might mean drought. A drought is when it doesn't rain so much. Tropical storms could be stronger, and a continuing rise in sea level due to melting polar ice might push people out of their homes. Right? If you live on the beach and the ocean starts rising up, you don't want to live on the beach anymore, right? They would have to find somewhere else to live. Hundreds of plant and animal species have already experienced changes because of climate change. The American pika, for example, how cute, is a small mammal that lives in cool, mountainous areas in western North America. In fact, it can die when exposed to temperatures warmer than 78 degrees Fahrenheit. So as the mountain climate heats up, the pika climbs the slopes in search of cooler habitat. But what happens when temperatures at the top become too warm for the pika? Other species will benefit from a warmer world, but in some cases that would be bad news from humans. Because disease-carrying mosquitoes thrive in warm, wet weather, more people can contract illnesses such as malaria as the earth warms. So there's certain diseases that mosquitoes carry when they live in warm, wet weather, and that would happen more possibly if the earth were warmer because there would be more mosquitoes. What can we do about it? You can do a lot. It's simple to make a difference to keep the earth healthy. Try some of these tips to reduce the amount of carbon dioxide you add to the atmosphere. Instead of traveling in a car, use public transportation. Walk or ride your bike when you can. Biking or walking 10 miles a day instead of riding in a car can save up to 1.9 tons of carbon dioxide from entering the atmosphere every year. How awesome is that? Reduce and reuse things as much as possible. Factories emit lots of carbon dioxide when making new products. Buying products that are made with recycled glass and plastic also emits carbon dioxide, but less so. Fix your appliances and clothes instead of buying new products. Good thing Holy jeans are back in style. Wash your clothes in cold water, hang them to dry. Electronics use energy even when they're turned off, so unplug them when you're not using them. It could save your family about $200 a year on its energy bill. Eat less meat and dairy. Farm animals emit another heat-trapping gas, methane. And some studies have found that livestock account for about half of the world's heat-trapping gas emissions. Buy locally grown and in-season fruits, foods, and products to reduce emissions from transporting products, right? If we have something here in California, it's easier than getting something from far away that we need to drive in or fly in. Wear a warm sweater at home in the winter instead of turning up the heat, and open your windows instead of blasting the air conditioning in the summer. Talk to your parents and the other adults that you know about climate change. Send a letter or drawing to your mayor, Senate, or House representative, or even to the president. These leaders can vote to regulate and reduce carbon dioxide emissions. Now, this is the end of our article here. This is our last paragraph. Your everyday actions affect people, plants, and animals all over the world, including polar bears. So be cool by doing your best to keep Earth, well, cool. Now, I know from reading this article that this main idea has something to do with climate change. It must, because climate change was such a big part of the title and what we read about. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to my slides and I'm going to take a look at this main idea box and I'm going to go ahead and write right here. I'm going to double click and I'm going to type, what is the main idea of this article? Well, the main idea is climate change is, and now I need to finish the sentence. What is this article telling me about climate change? Climate change is when the earth is warming, right? Getting warmer. Climate change is caused by humans because we're using a lot of energy sources that are causing carbon dioxide, right? Climate change is, what else could we say? Climate change is hurting the environment. Climate change is changing the way that plants and animals live. So we want to think of the one that that talks about the whole article. So I'm going to say climate change is when the weather warms up over time and causes problems for the environment and animals. I think that talks about almost everything, right? It talks about what climate change is when the weather warms up over time. And it talks about that it's a problem, right? It causes problems for the environment and for the animals. That talks about pretty much everything. And I'm going to double check because I know that I can look at these pictures. Talks about the earth, okay? Talks about, I didn't talk about the steam, but I did talk about how there are some effects, right? We talked about the pika, so plants and animals. And again, that these actions and that climate change affects people and plants and animals all over the world, right? So I think this is a pretty good main idea. Right down here in the details, I'm going to tell some examples of how I know that this is true. So when I double click in the box, I get this little text box, and now I can write in here and I can say, what's an example of this? Well, water is warming up and that causes the coral to die off, right? It can't survive in the warm water. What's another example? Factories are making carbon dioxide that keeps the earth warmer than it should be. Okay. And one more thing that this causes problems for the animals and the environments. Let's see. Some animals have to move, find new food, or find a way to survive when the temperatures change with climate change. Let's see. Let's change this with climate change. All right. I think that tells me some details that explains this more. It tells me how the weather is warming up over time, why the weather is warming up over time. It tells me about the problems for the environment, for the animals. So this helps explain our key details, explain the main idea. They tell us more information from the article. Okay, so that's your mini lesson on main idea. I hope that helps you. And more importantly, I hope you can go now and complete this main idea all on your own from this climate change article. So I'll link the article for you, and you have the slide open that you can go ahead and write your own main idea and details here. If you'd like to use mine, that's great. If you want to replace it, that's okay too. And then you can go ahead and add your own 3 details. What are some details that tell us more about this main idea? Have a good day, guys. See you soon.